Yeah, that's what they're doing,
These one big glasses clean. They can't be. They can't be.
yeah. I don't think so.
Why don't you just put that upside down? Okay, that's for shit. You just got all the shit out of the drawer.
Wow. Sure.
Okay, come on then.
Yeah. Just on a look, somebody asked a question about sofas. I was just trying to find out
That was me. It was
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Trying to be organised and look for it. Oh, you got there before me. Okay. Andrea said she's not coming. So who else? We went
Everyone else.
look. Oh, Naomi.
Where's that gone? No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be fine. Right. Oh. People appearing all over the place. So many. Have you decided what your rules are going to be?
Yeah, we're going to keep her off the sofa, or try to. But I think the hardest, when we first got her, we made the rule not to have her on the sofa. We were always on the floor with her. And then as we've got tireder and tireder and our backs have been hurting and we're sleepy, we have let her on for like a cuddle. And then now she's obviously bigger, so she can just hop on herself. And it's like, okay, we don't want you to go on when we don't want you to. And shortly after I took the picture of her this morning, she'd then gone into the garden, got a big clump of mud, and then jumped on the sofa and ate the mud on the. Luckily, it was the garden furniture, not our main sofa. But I was just thinking, I can't have that.
No, and I think from the dog's point of view, it's incredibly unfair of us, isn't it, to have these rules that are inside our head and not really clear for the dog, which means that they're going to make choices that are going to end up upsetting us, and then they're going to get told off. So making it really clear, I think, is the thing, that if your puppy does get up, then you're not going to stay on the sofa to cuddle them. So the cuddles are usually the main reason, the social connection. They want to get up on the sofa to be with you. So to begin with, one of the easiest ways of dealing with it is every time the puppy tries to jump up, you get up and you walk away. That way, the jumping up for attention button isn't working. But we're always talking in terms of works or doesn't work. The behavior of jumping up, we want it not to work. But think about it from your pup's point of view. They're social animals. They do need social contact with us. And if your puppy's saying, I need to be up there to cuddle with you, then if you want them to learn that the sofa's not available, we need to bring ourselves down to them. You know, we need to put ourselves onto the floor and say, here I am, now I'm available. An intermediate sort of idea would be to have a specific blanket which signals, it becomes a cue that sofa access is allowed, that you're allowed to lay on the blanket. But that would involve you being organised enough to remember to remove it every time. Otherwise, you're back to a position where the dog's not sure if it's allowed or not allowed. The other thing you can do is decide when you do want your pup to be on, that you do so by inviting them with a very clear cue. So, you know, you can have a signal that you have together that says, now you are invited, you know, so patting the sofa or wiggly hands and inviting up, something like that. But then if you're going to do that, I would also teach a very clear, it's time to get off the sofa cue. Yeah. So an on cue, if you like, and an off cue. I don't bandy with the idea that dogs are going to feel more important than you, or that we have to have a higher status than them or anything like that. But just like any family, you do need a set of rules that everybody lives by and understands in order for the whole family to get on well together. And if you've decided that your rule is no dogs on sofa, then stick to it. There's nothing worse than finding in a few years' time you set yourself a rule, but you're breaking your own rule and it's annoying you, and the dog ends up getting it. You know, the dog's the one that ends up suffering as a result of it. So lots of different ways of going around it. The problem is if your dog just finds that the sofa is the most comfortable place to be, and a lot of dogs really do like to be raised. You know, they prefer to relax on a raised surface. So if they do find that that's what they prefer, then if you're not there to constantly redirect them and teach them that it's not available to them, then you have to prevent them from accessing it. You have to. So that means either the puppy, as soon as you're about to leave a room, goes with you and you shut the door so that access to that room isn't available. Or if you're about to leave them, you need to go to the loo, or whatever reason you're leaving the room, you leave them behind another barrier. So behind a stair gate or in their own sort of pen area, so that they can't access the sofa. I had one friend, a lady who had a Rottie puppy. They grow very rapidly. And I think at about 6 months, she'd got so sick of trying to direct a puppy off the sofa. Every time she left the room, the dog was straight on the sofa. She used to, as she left the room, she'd tip the sofa up so it was upside down. It was a small sofa. So there wasn't actually a sofa to get on when the person wasn't in the room with her. Actually, in the end, the dog won that particular discussion, and she ended up having free access to the sofa whenever she wanted it. They came to an agreement between them. So they just had to get a bigger sofa. Mine have their own 7-foot sofa that they can get on whenever they like. They can put the cushions on it wherever they like and throw them off if they want to. They can do whatever they want on that sofa. And they're only allowed on my sofa when I specifically invite them. So, okay. Does that give you some ideas? Can you hear me? Am I talking to myself? Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Millie's gone quiet. Don't know if her screen's collapsed. Anyway, so that was the question about sofas. We said that we were going to have a look at Leave It, because somebody was saying, how do I stop my dog from jumping on things and grabbing at them? Who's that? Give me a wave if it was you that wanted specifically to learn how to get your dog to leave it. I don't know if we're here, but we're going to go through it anyway, because obviously people will be watching the video. But before then, should we just get an update, see if there's any other issues that we're going to... Hi, Millie, you back? You'll
My
have to, you'll have to watch the video back to get the rest of that answer.
I got most of it, so thank you.
So while you're on, any other concerns, Millie? Any other things that have come up, or?
We've had another good week. She just had a bit of teething one day. She was really mischievous, but she was just constantly wanting to chew. So I'm guessing that she was just having a teething day. We're going for our first walk on Tuesday. So just any tips about where's the best place for them to go for their first walk. And also I'm seeing lots of things about dog attacks as well, so which makes me paranoid that someone's going to attack my little puppy. And just if you had any tips on breaking up a dog fight, I don't know. I'm reading lots of conflicting things online.
All right, we'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll go through that. Anyone else then? Let's get a quick update. You can celebrate. I'm going to go with Naomi because I've just pressed her button. You can celebrate your successes. I'd love to hear if you've had some real good fun with anything from last week's homework, or if you've got problems, concerns of things coming up.
We're doing all right with him this week. We bought a harness and a longer lead than we had, and he is walking better. Still pulling them sometimes, but generally speaking, it's better when we walk now. It definitely helps him. So yeah, that's more enjoyable. He's getting to a point where he's happy to go for walks as well. Whereas before we had to entice him to come out, but he's getting used to it, so he seems to be settling in. One little thing that happened today, and you might be able to recommend something. He stood on a nettle, a stinging nettle. He's fine now, but he limped for a few minutes, but he's absolutely fine now. Like we would if we did it, would we a dock leaf rubbing it on? Would that help him, or do we just have to let him walk it off? I was like, I don't know what to do. What should I do for him? His poor little paw, and he stood on a nettle.
Oh, bless. So Dodo, one of mine, has problems with nettles. He comes home with super itchy feet, which drive him absolutely potty, and he's digging on the furniture and digging on the carpet, and properly upset and wandering around the house and can't settle. So on recommendation, somebody suggested that I buy a spray, which is called Lucacillin spray, which you can buy from the pet shop, and that's worked really well. So he came home with itchy feet from yesterday's walk, and I sprayed them, and what would usually take him half an hour to an hour to finally for his feet to stop itching, it was 5-10 minutes at the most after I'd sprayed them, when he was just settled down. So that would be something you could keep in the car, and I think would probably help.
Yeah.
It certainly seems to have worked for him, and as I say, it was recommended by other dog professionals. So
super, that's good. And he's also doing well in the car now. He's happy to get in and he's happy to get out, and we've had a few journeys this week and he hasn't been sick, so we're pleased with that as well. So yeah, good week.
Good. All right, let's have a look at someone else. Rosie, you're digging at the camera, I can see you.
Hello.
Hello.
We've definitely had a better week for Opie this week. We can notice the difference from when we first started with you guys. It's definitely getting better. We've only got a couple of things really. He likes to eat the sofa. Now, thankfully, because we've just moved houses, this is an old sofa that's going in the bin when we've bought our new one. But I'm just dreading when we get our new one that is just going to chew through it, because there is quite a few chunks missing out of this sofa. I've tried all sorts. We've got blankets on it. So we've got blankets that cover the edges, but you can get the blanket off. And we've also tried like a chewy puppy spray thing, which don't really do anything at all. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is just his teeth, his back teeth are coming through, and his teeth keep bleeding loads. we've just found one of his teddies that's like covered in blood. It looks like he's just killed a pig. And I think they're quite sore, which is why he's getting a bit.
Yeah, I think that's what it's now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
probably.
biting a little bit at the minute, but they're just bleeding. I don't know if that's normal for him to bleed quite a lot or.
Yeah, so bleeding, it depends on your definition of a lot. A little bit of blood goes a long way.
Well,
know,
yeah.
It can look like a lot. If it were actively dripping and you're telling me that he's got blood sort of drooling down his face, then I would be concerned, because it's not unknown for that breed to have issues with clotting. You know, so if it is something that you're thinking is a significant amount of blood for what should be in theory quite a minor injury, you know, the blood supply to those baby teeth should have cut off before they fall out.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a lot of bleeding seen. If you're thinking that maybe there is a problem, then that would require a blood sample and a blood test to check. It's again something, I think, if you are thinking that he might have, I would definitely get it checked before he goes through surgery.
Yeah.
You know, because that we don't want a significant bleed after surgery. With regards to teething, yeah, I think probably chewing on things in general is very much a puppy thing to do. It's very, they want that soothing sensation, and it does make them feel better. Offering alternatives is the best way to go, and the better your alternative is than the thing that they're choosing to chew, the more likely they are to leave alone the thing that you're trying to. So leave it, when we start talking about the leave it cue, might help a little bit, but I think redirecting onto a more appropriate chew item is going to be your way to go. And you can buy dog toys that you soak and freeze so that they're really cool on the gums while they're chewing. Or you can just do things like frozen carrots or frozen bananas, you know, frozen broccoli. It depends on you. But that cold sensation, as well as using the chewing on something that's appropriate instead of it being on sofa. Prevention. You know, 90% of living with a dog and not losing your mind is is preventing them from doing that thing in the first place. You know, so lack of access to. And obviously, if you're there, you can direct him onto appropriate items. Yeah, Dodo saw out my favourite chair that I'd had since I was 25. He got rid of that for me. I think it is very much phased. Some puppies unfortunately go through it for longer than others, but I think almost all puppies will put a little hole in something. Maybe had a brand new pair of shoes. Partner at the time, his rug got demolished on a seatbelt in a car. That was a bit expensive.
Good point.
But, yeah, it's kind of normal. The fish spray, which you've used, the anti-bite spray, doesn't seem to have a good effect on most dogs. And speaking from experience, when they put it on me as a child to stop me from biting my nails, I just got used to the taste. The drive to chew was so high that wasn't an effective punishment or prevention for me. And I think the same with dogs. You know, we have to fulfill that drive and that need. We have to provide an alternative for it. We can't just stop it.
Makes sense.
All right. But other than that, it's perfect.
You could say that.
Yeah. Still in love.
Always.
That's the most important thing when all's said and done. Oh, I'm about to lose him. Woody, are you able to talk to us, or are you busy? Yeah.
There we go. That's it. Sorry. Yeah, it's okay. I'm here. It's cool. Hi, Bells. What's your iPad, darling? Daddy's just talking to the puppy class. Yeah. All right. Good girl. Okay. Hiya. You all right? Yes. No, it's not too bad. Going all right. I think he's learned quite a lot. He's doing all right. Not too bad. The thing I'm concerned about is barking. He's a very vocal. You can probably hear him in the background. He's a very vocal dog. He's barking at the minute because I'm not throwing the ball for him.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. It's we've got a big yard outside, and he as soon as he's out, he's gone. He's away. So neighbours are out there. He's barking constantly, even if they're not doing anything, making any noise. He's just barking at that side of the fence as well. So that's probably one thing at the minute. Other than that, success stories. He's been for a walk today. He went on the airfield near Holton and Clay. He liked going up there. He went with Nikki, and he did very well. Apparently, he wasn't pulling too much. He was walking nicely next to her. Obviously, tempting him back with the treats and whatnot to get him to walk by the side more than pulling off. He did very well. A few other dogs there, and initially, while going behind Nikki, he was a lot better with them than what he has been. Of what it was, help me, and run away before. Whereas now, still going behind, but a lot better when they came close. He was more interested. Who are you? So, yeah.
Good.
I think that's it.
Good, bless you. So we're going to have a look again at recall today.
Right.
And I think with regards to barking in the garden, a good strong recall is going to be one of the ways of interrupting that. But the other thing I would say is very much an issue of prevention. So you know that he's likely to go out there and do it. If he goes out into the garden on a long line, so he isn't just going straight out and then you can't catch him and you can't get him back in. At least on a long line, you can prevent him going all the way over to that piece of fence where he's going to do his barking. Yeah.
Idea.
And that gives you an opportunity then to train him in recall. With regards to barking for the ball, we've got to keep in mind all of the time, what button is the dog pressing to get what they want? And if we throw the ball when the dog, if we throw the ball when the dog has barked, in the dog's mind, the barking made you throw the ball. So we might think that we're giving them that thing to shut them up, and it might work in the short term. But actually, we've got this cycle going where dog barks, ball gets thrown. So dog barks, so the ball gets thrown. Yeah. So what I would do is I would wait for a little bit of silence and make sure that it really is self-calming, and silence gets me to throw the ball. Does that make sense? And
yeah.
It's not always that easy, because we do tend to want them to shut up, and we want to just get in there and make them be quiet. Actually, what we need to do if they bark is you need to make it really clear with body language, looking away, turning away, taking the ball out of play. That's not going to make me do what you want. And when they're silent, when they're quiet, you give your attention back, you tell them that's good, and that's when they get the thing that they want.
Idea. I mean, what I was doing, I don't know if it was right or wrong, I was taking it. We've got a little pen. We don't spend much time in there at all, really. But we can lock it. So I took his toy away, the one that he was wanting, and I put it in his pen, as if to say, we're not playing with that at this point in time. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it did seem to work. But I don't want to.
So the question
upset him.
of whether or not it works, if the behaviour reduces, then whatever you're doing is working to change that behaviour. Yeah, so you're always going to keep a mental note or an actual note, a written note of what you've tried and what the effect of that was. And if that seemed to work, then continue to do that. What we have to be very careful of with dogs is assigning them higher function. In other words, assuming that they understand things we would understand. Now you've got tiny children. So you know that you can't expect your tiny children to think through complex emotions or complex thoughts, feelings. You're a dog and imagine as a child, would the child understand that concept that you're trying to explain if you did it in exactly the same way? And usually, if you can say that your 2 or 3 year old child would be able to understand that concept, generally dogs can as well.
Idea.
So, you know, if you've got parental skills, you can transfer them.
I'd like to think I've got some parental skills. Yeah. Dad, get down, mate. Good boy.
All right,
Good boy.
thanks.
Get down. Good boy. All right. Thank you.
You're always distracted, bless you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a crazy house again.
Oh, okay.
But we do watch the video back, so
Yeah.
it's good. Straight away, watch it back and get good feedback from it, and do go through all the routines. So
Oh, bless
it's
you.
working. It is good. We're good.
All right, darling. I'm gonna put you on mute.
Okay.
Let you relax a little bit. So, is that any of that brought up any other questions before I start falling off chairs and things? Anybody want me to put them on view? No? All right. So we're going to talk about how to, we'll go with, somebody's still moving around, how to teach off. So we're talking about the sofa, teach your dog, I'm just going to mute you, how to teach your dog the off cue, how to get it into their brain to understand what you mean when you say off. And remembering that words don't mean anything at all to dogs. We have to teach them and show them what our intended meaning is with that word. Okay, and I think the easiest way to teach off is to teach the opposing cue, which is on. Yeah, because it's easier for the dog to understand two completely separate things. So in order to train this, you will need a sofa or something that they can legally get onto, that you're not going to be upset with them if they get onto it. So I've got a bed, which I've kind of bunched up so it's a bit higher. And then I'll need one of these things. Wait. I want Dodo. Thank you. One of these, the crazy Dodo. He's in right old mood today because I've been busy all day, so he hasn't had a walk. So he's in right old silly old mood today. Right, so I'm getting calmed down first before I start nagging him or asking him to do anything. I'm going to wait until he calms himself down. Yeah, so I'm not going to take a dog who's crazy and try and immediately expect them to do what I ask. I'm going to wait for them to naturally calm down and offer a calm. And here he is, he's offered me a calm. So I'm going to go get my treats and I'm going to pay him for being like that. It's a good boy. Now, with your puppy, food on nose, lure on to the bed or on to the sofa. That's it. And pay by putting the food onto, not from your hand, but onto it. Good boy, that's on. Now that they're on, we can say off and put the food onto the floor. Let me just move my camera a tiny bit more so you get a bit more floor. Okay, so we're going to say on, off. It's a bit clever. Off. Okay, so now, because the thing that I actually want to train is the off cue, I've stopped asking for the on cue. Now, if I am intending in the future to invite my dogs onto the sofa, I'm going to keep that on cue. But for those of you that want your dog not to be on the sofa, you want to teach them to stay off the sofa, then you make sure that the off cue is trained really strongly, and the on cue you only train a little bit. Okay, so we're going to say off. Didn't ask for it, not going to pay for it. Yeah, but I am going to ask for off. Okay, and I don't mind him going back over there because that's his resting place that we've taught. When I'm not teaching you anything, when I don't need your attention, go and lay on your bed. Okay, off. On. Okay, so when you do start dropping your on cue, if you're intending on dropping the on cue, then every now and then, just to help them to understand the difference, you can still use it. But the aim is that the off cue gets more reinforcement and more reward over all of those repetitions, so that off becomes the one that they would prefer to do. Does that make sense? Can I get thumbs up if it makes sense from everybody? And let's have a go at it then. If you've got something you're happy for your dog to get onto, if you're a bit sensitive about your chairs and your sofas and things, use their own bed. Which you can still. I can show you another little method to teach it as well in a minute. Don't lick my face. 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 Very cute. Okay, so when you've got a puppy who's not sure, that's it, I saw you. We've got off now. So you can reward on the floor, put the food onto the floor. Try not to give it to their face. Okay, and then lower back up. You can ask me. You all right, Millie? Yeah. And then lower off. So when you're using a lure, put the food onto the end of the nose and lower that nose all the way with you. So your hand isn't moving away from the nose. It sticks to the nose and drags that nose like glue.
Am I saying off and on when she does it as well, or am I just, yeah, okay.
Yeah. We're going to introduce the cue for these straight away. So you're going to do it as you lead them in that direction. You're going to tell them on. And then as you lead them off, you're going to tell them off. So what you can do, if your puppy's not sure about being lured, say off and drop the food onto the floor. Yeah, so that they'll jump off to go and get that food. Sometimes they need a bit of thinking, Rosie. That's it. Sometimes the process doesn't go instant. Sometimes they have to just stare at it for a bit and wonder. Okay. So another fun way, one way I really like of teaching the on and off cues is to teach a little trick. So I'm going to teach a little trick. Something to show to your friends and family with your cute puppy. Look out. Good lad. Ooh. So what you're going to do with your pups, you'll need to be on your knees. Can you sit a minute? Wait there. I want you to put your arm out and tease them until their paws come on to your arm, and then say off and feed on the floor. Okay, on, come on up, on, good boy, off. So this is especially good for those dogs who jump up when they want attention. On. Good boy. Good. Off. Good boy. Okay, so we've got those two opposing cues, two different behaviours, and you can link a word with them or a cue with them. I'm going to sit on this stool again. I'm trying to avoid it, but I'm going to do it because it's easier to move. So let's have a look at you all. That's it. Just keep going. Food right on the end of the nose. Stretch that nose up and the paws will follow. Sometimes you have to have your arm a little bit lower to begin with because sometimes it's quite hard for tinies to get their paws up. You've got it. Okay, so again, with you doing it this way, and especially if you've got a puppy who tends to jump up anyway, you would drop the on cue, so you wouldn't be asking for it anymore, but you would be making sure that the off cue always got rewarded, so it was highly reinforced. Got it, Millie. Well done. So what tends to happen, if you drop the on cue and we're getting paid more for putting our feet on the floor, in other words, the off cue, then the puppy stops offering the on behaviour, which if you don't want them on the sofa, that's exactly what we want, don't we? We don't want them to offer to get onto the thing. And if we've got a puppy who jumps up, we don't want them to offer to jump up. We want them to prefer to be on the floor, paws on the floor. Okay, so we can do similar with our whole body. If you've got a jumpy uppy puppy, and most pups are a bit jumpy uppy when they're young. And Dodo was the absolute worst. He was horrible. He still is. Look at him. Lives on his back legs. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite the whole dog up. Come on. Good boy. And I'm going to pay him there because I asked for it. And off. Good boy. Food on the floor. Okay. Now, because I'm not going to ask him to do it, I'm just going to act excited. Off. Off. So he's not offering that jump up anymore because I'm not asking him to. Does that make sense? So teach it to begin with and reward both so that you can get rid of the one you don't like by highly reinforcing the opposite. Boy. Oh, look at Woody. He's so cute. Okay, so that's different ways of teaching your pup what you mean when you say off. Now, one word of caution with this, when you've got people around your dogs who don't know that you've taught the word off to mean take your paws off things, then they're probably going to say the word down, which we're trying to train to mean something entirely different, aren't we? So a scenario, a little story that I heard a long time ago. was written from the point of view of the dog. And the dog says, my owners came in to the living room and I was laid on the sofa. And they came in and they said, down. So I just laid there looking at them. And the owner said, down again in an angry voice. And I laid there looking at them thinking, I am doing a down. I don't understand. Okay, so remember that the cue that you've taught, if you've taught it properly, will be the one that they'll understand. And if you're saying to your puppy to get down and they're laying down on the sofa, they're still doing a down. Does that make sense? So off means take your paws off. Down means lay your belly down. Did you want me, Millie?
Yeah, I had a similar situation yesterday. Ola stole one of my dad's shoes and he chased her and was going, drop it. And I said, no. And I just went up to her and went, drop. And she went, because I'd taught her drop. I said, she's a puppy. She doesn't understand.
Plus being chased.
Yeah, I said, she thinks it's a game now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we are now going to talk about how to start teaching Leave It. Okay, now we have done some stuff already that kind of feeds into this. We have done some of the self-control type training. So the puppies are starting to understand the concept of not going after something that they want. But in real life, those things are already on the floor, aren't they? They're already there and the dog spotted them and the dog's already on their way to them. We want to know how can we teach them to come away from that thing before they actually get there. So there's several different methods as usual to get the same result. The first one we're going to do, we use prevention. So here is my prevention. Oh, I've just remembered Dodo hasn't got a collar on. Oh, dead good dog trainer me. I know where it is. Actually, that is Twiggy's harness, so that's not going to fit you. All right, I'm just going to grab her collar. Talk amongst yourselves, which you can't because you're muted. You wait there. Did you do anything exciting while we were watching? Anyone want a pile of dogs? Right, come on out. 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 And you. Out. Twiggy. Out. Good girl, well done. Right. Collar. All excited now because his sisters came in. So I'm not going to try and put his collar on while he's being an idiot. So I'm not going to get angry or upset with him. He wants this on because this has got nice connotations. I'm going to offer it to him. And he chooses whether or not to put it on. Okay. So we've got a lead. Now we need a thing that he would like to go after, but I'm going to make sure that my lead is not going to let him. Okay, so I'm going to throw a piece of food out there beyond his ability to reach. I'm going to wait for him to stop trying to get it. Can you go get it? Go get it. I'm not going to pull him back, but he will run into the lead himself. So I'm not going to yank him back, but the lead is already set so that he can't get it. I'm going to wait for him to stop trying to get it. I want him to really try. And then when he's decided that he really can't, and he comes back towards me, I'm going to put the food reward right next to my feet. Okay, so there's the thing that he wants. There's another one, and I'm going to reward him for that. Yeah, now because that is going to be called a leave it, I'm not going to allow him to go after it. I'm going to leave it, and we're going to pick him up and start over. So, going to throw it out. When your puppy's stopped trying to get that thing, and they've looked at you, they've come back towards you, pay at your feet. Okay. So it's a bit like the mousy game, but it's bigger. So we've got this thing that's going out there, and he's obviously been rewarded lots and lots and lots for not going after it. So that's why he's looking at me instead. And every now and then, if he's ever so good, that thing that I've told him he can't have, I might change my mind. So one of the things we do when we're walking down the seafront is if I spot a bag of chips or something that somebody's left laying around, and I've had the dogs walk past it and leave it, and I've judged it safe, so I've had a really good look at it on my way past to make sure nobody's put any nasties in it, then I might then take them back and tell them that they can get it. Yeah? So, you need to make sure that they're really, really good at the leave it before you start telling them that they can get it. Those two opposing cues don't work very well if you train them against each other. They don't work as well as the on and off cues do. So train that habit of not going after it really strongly. Now you'll notice I didn't give the cue leave it, and I don't want you to call it a leave it until your dog's really good at making that choice of stopping trying to go after it. So we use the lead to prevent them from getting it wrong, because we really want them to get it right. We wait for them to stop trying. Yeah, now if you think that after you've said leave it, your dog will not try to go after it, then you can introduce the cue, leave it. So it's very much, can you see how that little game of spelling out the letters of their name, it's the same as that, but bigger. Because you know, we were putting one on the floor and then giving one to the dog. Well, now we're throwing one on the floor and giving one to the dog. Does that make sense? Yeah, ask me.
At what point should we be saying leave it?
So when you're willing to bet in front of somebody else 50 quid that if you tell your dog to leave it, they will leave it, and you're willing to pay them that 50 quid if your dog gets it wrong, then that's when you're going to put that cue in place. Yep, she's not even looking at it, is she? So you're probably safe, aren't you? But it's your money to gamble. So
I say the
yeah, so that's it. When she's looking at it, tell her leave it, because we already know she's likely to make the right choice. And then when she looks back at you, you give her that reward. So as she looks at the thing, tell her leave it. Yeah. So we get that decision making. They've already made that decision so many times and got rewarded for making that choice not to go after that item so many times that when you add that cue, they're likely to get it right. Does that make sense? Okay, so we make it harder. We make it harder by doing something like this. I'm just going to get you a lead again. Oh. So I'm going to use my lead to prevent him from getting it wrong. I'm going to put something amazing down on the floor. My lead is still short enough that if he decides to try and go after it, then he can't actually get there. All right. And we're going to start doing things like moving near it and rewarding every choice not to try and get into it. Yes, clever boy. Did you see him look at it? It's not easy for him. He's got a whole pile of the same biscuits that he's getting rewarded by. Good boy. Okay, and I'd be willing to gamble on that when he's looking at it, leave it. Good boy, very nice. I can say the cue. Leave it. Good boy. Good boy. So he's even actively stepping around it and saying, oh, oh, oh. Now, the thing with the leave it cue, because dogs don't generalize very well, then you might feel like they understand it in these really tight contexts where they're on lead and you've set it up. But until you've practiced in lots and lots of different environments with lots of different leave it items and different leave it foods, your dog doesn't actually understand it, and it won't translate into other situations and other environments until it's been practiced in all of those different situations and different environments. So you have to set up lots of opportunities to practice. But let's have a look. How are you getting on at the moment? So we reward every time they look away from it, every time they manage to move around it, even if they look at it, it's the looking away bit that we're capturing and rewarding. And if your pup's doing really well, you say leave it as they're looking at the item, and you reward right next to yourself. That's it, and use your lead to prevent them from getting it wrong. You still, even if you've had to use the lead, you're still going to reward that choice, that decision not to, that decision to move away from it. So we've built up to this. We've built up to this by doing the bowl game, where the bowl is coming down closer, by doing the counting, one for you, one for me game, by doing the spreading the food out, but not giving it all to them, not releasing them to it, picking each piece up one by one, by doing the mousy game. All of these build up that history of just because food is there, or just because something that I like is there, doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily have it. And you build it up until you're eventually, and again, don't ask your pups to do too much or beyond their ability, but eventually you build it up to the stage at which you can say, leave it, and you got it, leave it. Good boy. Yes, that's clever. That's a leave it. Leave it. Oh, leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Bit hard if it comes directly into his face. Leave it. Leave it. Again, straight to his face. I'm too good at throwing. Leave it. Good boy. Leave it. Get it. So with somebody like Dodo, who's a hunting dog, and he's going to see a bird fly, pigeon fly or whatever, and fly close enough that he could grab it, then leave it for moving objects, things that are in the process of going. And also for safety, especially if you've got things like medications that you might be preparing to take, and some of them could be quite dangerous. I use nicotine replacement, and quite often I've pinged it and it's gone onto the floor, you know, and it would kill a dog if it managed to be swallowed. So having a really strong leave it for things that are suddenly dropped next to them is a really, really good idea to keep them safe. So let's have a look how you're getting on. Hello, monkey. Hello, monkey. Lily's doing really well. Okay, so what we don't want to ever do with the leave it is we don't want it to become something that we say in a grumpy way, because if you are trying to nag or threaten your dog out of behavior, then that's damaging your relationship, and it's not necessary. You know, you can explain to them, when I say leave it, you're not going to be able to have that thing. But on occasion, they will get something, won't they? They'll get something, and then you think, leave it hasn't worked. I've said leave it, but the dog's got it anyway. What do I do now? So we're going to talk about drop it. Okay, so drop it is a different cue. So we'll just show you that. So his Dodo's favourite toy. It's his chewed fish that he only ever gets to see in classes, so it drives him absolutely batty. And that's a leave it, which he's got right on this occasion. Ah, okay, so he got it wrong. Now, if I chase him, it's a chase game. If I try and grab it, it might be a tug game. If I get angry with him and upset with him and force him to let go of it, that's damaged our relationship. So what I did instead is I went straight to the treat pot. I just ignored the fact that he picked that up. I went straight to the treat pot. And what happened to the toy? Okay, so what we're going to do to start teaching drop, we're going to get rid of the toy. We're going to introduce the cue all on its own for no reason whatsoever, with nothing in the environment. We're going to say drop, and drop a piece of food. Drop. Just drop that piece of food. Drop. Now I'm going to reintroduce the item, and I'm going to continue to say drop. Look what happens to that item. Yeah? Is he bothered about it anymore? No. Now I can get him excited about it. Come on, get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it, get it. Drop. Because drop means there's going to be something yummy on the floor. So get him excited. Drop. Go, get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Drop. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it. Get it, get it. Drop. Okay, so now I'm keeping hold of it. So to begin with, I was just dropping it and then telling him the word drop. Now I'm going to keep hold of it and keep him engaged with it. And I'm going to say drop. Yeah. So from the pup's point of view, if you train that with lots and lots of different items in lots of different scenarios, then to them, it's always going to be worth letting go of that thing because there's always going to be value in it for them. And there's a chance that if they drop it, you'll just restart the game with them anyway. So they're willing to gamble. All right, so I want you to get them engaged. First of all, just the drop cue on its own and drop the food, so no toy. And then I want the toy to be in the environment but boring, not doing anything, not being super exciting. And you use the drop cue to teach them you're not interested in that item. Now, what this can go wrong is if you've got a dog who's crazy, crazy, crazy about the toy, and if the toy is more valuable than the food, and the puppy's not willing to come away from that toy or that item that you're using to train, then what you need is an equal value item, something that is the same as the item. Yeah, so if you've got a teddy and you're crazy about your teddy and your puppy doesn't want to drop for food, then you're going to have an equal value teddy. And when they've got one teddy, you start playing with the other teddy. And you say, drop, giving them the option of dropping the one that they've got, and you replace the game with the one that you had. So you swap them from one to the in your hand for the one that you've got. So again, with Millie there, she's got a ball. So what you would do, if she wasn't willing to drop the ball for a piece of food, you would get another ball and start playing with it yourself. And she would choose, but she'd rather have the food is what she's saying just now. Okay, what about Rosie? How did we get on with dropping?
Not too bad. He just sort of went a bit crazy when he had a ball. When he's got a ball on a rope and he's like, "Rah!" He gets all excited. He's like he's laid down. But yeah, not too bad. He just sat on the sofa. Oh wait, what you got?
So quite often what we will do is we will accidentally teach our puppy to guard things and to run away with things and to keep possession of things. And the way that we teach them that is by making a real big deal out of the fact that they've got a thing. Now that can work in two ways. It can work for us if we want puppies to pay more attention to their own toys, then that's when we should be running after them and getting excited with them, when they've got their own toy. But if they've stolen something that we don't want them to have, then running after them and getting excited about it and trying to take it off them will actually make them run away with it, want to guard it from us, get excited about that item. Okay, so teaching drop is a really nice way of saying to them, that thing you've got, I don't want it. But if you drop it, there's going to be something better instead. Yeah. And it's hard for us, I think, especially when they're very teethy, because they're constantly putting things in their mouth. You feel like you ought to be taking them away. But actually, the more that you take things away from them, the more that they want to hold them, guard them, and they risk learning to swallow them, to keep possession of them. And quite a lot of dogs that come in with foreign bodies, when you look back at how they were raised as puppies, these were puppies who were having things taken away from them a lot. So rather than take away, swap. So you can do a direct swap. If you haven't taught your drop yet, you can do a direct swap. So the way you do that is get your dog on your toy. Yeah, get them excited about the toy. He says he knows what's coming and he'd rather have the food. I've got my food hand out of the way. Once I've got him on the toy and I've got him excited about the toy, I'm going to fling my hand to his nose, right on the end of his nose. And as he's eating that piece of food, I'm going to take that toy out of view and out of play. Yeah, and you can do that with any item that you might not want them to know about. So hair bubbles, for example. Hair bubbles. We don't want dogs to have hair bubbles. He won't even give me a chance to say the word because he's already figured out that my hand's moving. Right, you go. Grr, grr, drop. Good man. So either a drop or you've got to keep hold of it. Keep hold of it. He says I'm not going to keep hold of it. Drop it or swap it. So a swap, you're putting your hand and the food right over the end of the nose. They've still got hold of the item. In order to take that food, they've got to let go of the item. Yeah, so we win anyway. No harm, no foul. All right, so let's see your combinations, getting them excited about things, getting the things off them. See if you can do a direct swap onto the nose. Have I lost all my puppies? Have they all gone out to the toilet? Ah.
Let's not getting excited over toys. I think she's
All right.
tired.
Okay, so you can do things like taking it to an advanced level, giving them something like a food chew. So something like a dried pig's ear or a pizzle stick or something like that, and then coming up to them and offering them something as valuable but small, so a piece of cheese or a piece of something else. If your puppy growls at you or guards it or picks it up and moves away with it, then we need another solution. We need another alternative. So the other alternative is the counting game. So let's imagine, Dodo won't get this wrong for me, so it's a little bit annoying. I can't really show you very well. But let's imagine that he's got something super valuable that he doesn't want to let go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my back on him to show him that I'm not after that item. And I'm going to start counting 1 piece of food, 2 pieces of food. Carry on counting until he's moved away from the item and then pick it up and put it somewhere safe. So if it's a stolen item, go get it, go get it. Stolen item, turn your back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick it up when they're not looking at it. Pick it up when they're busy over there, so that you're not having them come in and try and win it back. Okay? So if you've got something with you now that you can, that is a little bit more high value, so the toy isn't working at the moment, but if you've got something that they might want to keep possession of, give it to them. But quite quickly, I want you to offer to swap directly. Or if they're doing really well with the drop, try your drop cue. Yeah. If not, then turn your back and start counting treats out loudly. Say it. 1, 2, 3. Don't look at your dog. We're not begging them to pay attention to us. We're busy paying attention to the food that we're counting out onto the floor. So we're not looking at them. We're not looking at the item that we're trying to get off them. We're just counting food out onto the floor. And obviously, if you've got a really high value toy or a really high value stolen item, there's no point swapping it for something that the dog doesn't really want. You know, it's got to be something worth risking for. And the more you can teach this where that item can safely be given back, so it's something that isn't going to do them any harm, the easier it's going to be. Something just fell on the floor. That's interesting. I've got a ghost in the house. That was very weird. Okay, so the more you can swap it and then give them the item back, because it's a safe item, the more likely they are to bring you items that you consider to be dangerous, the more likely they are to swap those out with you. So I've had lots of examples of that where I've dropped something inappropriate or I've left something out, and the dogs, they come over to me and show it to me and say, is this worth swapping for? Yeah, because they want me to give them that more valuable item from their point of view. So, and I have a little thing that I say when I'm excited with them, I run after them a little bit and I say, what you got? What you got? And I'll do that whether it's something that they should have or whether it's something that they shouldn't have, because I want them to say, I've got this, and they'll come and they'll kind of show you it. Yeah. So I think that works really nicely. Okay, so the next thing and the last thing I want to talk about tonight is your recalls. Oh, and we need to talk about first walks, don't we? So the first walk can make or break your relationship with your puppy outside in the real world. If you've done a good job so far, your pup thinks you're amazing. They think you're the nicest, most gentle, funnest person in the world to be around, and you will have developed a relationship and they will trust you. But on your first walk, you are exposing them to massive amount of stimulus, massive amount of new experiences, and their brain is going to overload really, really quickly, and their stress system is going to go into full flow. So what I want you to think about with your first walk is don't go anywhere. Don't expect to go anywhere. Have a plan with a picnic blanket and doggy treats and doggy chews. Have a plan to just stay in one spot and watch the world. So you need to be thinking of a place where there will be exposures to new things, but those things will be at a distance, where the puppy can just watch and not be bombarded, not have other dogs come running over to them, not have people coming over and touching them, where they can just watch and really take that information in, and they can lay and they can chew, or they can sniff the little bits of treats that you've scattered around. Yeah. If you're doing it straight from your own house, don't go far from the front door. Let the puppy really process the 5-foot space just outside your front door. And when the puppy's really keen to go and get information from the next 5-foot slot, then you move with them. So when they're really keen to move out and spread the scent picture and spread the information and want more, then you move with them. So you think about it in 5-foot spaces. We're going to really process this 5-foot space. And if you think about it from their point of view, that might expose them to cars, strangers going past, cyclists going past, other dogs going past, the noise of the wind, the noise of the trees moving, birds, you know. So there's going to be these massive amount of input. Even though you're not walking, the puppy's brain is super active. And don't go for long. 5-10 minutes on your first walk, going nowhere, is so valuable, so valuable. Yeah. And then you do 5-10 minutes again later on in the day. The aim is for the puppy to go have some really safe, really nice experiences, and then come back to where they know they're safe. If you think about a wild dog, and when you watch foxes and things on natural history programs, they don't come out of the den in like, today we're off, we're just going to go walk for miles and miles following mom. No, they hang out near the den, they play a little bit, they'll run back into the den, they'll play a little bit more, and then they'll run back into the den. They're tracking back to their safe spot all of the time. Yeah, we don't want to track them so far away from it that they start to feel scared. We want them to track out a little bit, really get to know that space at this distance, and then go home again. We slowly grow it. As I say, if you're going somewhere away from home, find a spot that's calm enough that they can see things but not be bombarded by things. Don't let people touch your puppy on the first few walks. Don't let people loom over them. And, you know, because it's like that, isn't it? You've got these hands coming towards you. That could really freak a puppy out. He's already dealing with so many things. If your puppy is really actively wanting to meet somebody, what I want you to consider is, what are they learning? If your pup's learning to be very over friendly and put their paws on somebody and jump up at somebody, is that how you want them to behave when they're grown up? So it's better, if you're going to have them meet somebody, have somebody join you on your picnic basket, on your picnic blanket, and let the puppy get to know them in a very organic sort of way. So they approach and they can have a sniff around the person. Before the person starts touching them, let the puppy be the one that makes the approaches. And then you can be guiding the puppy away from them. If they're starting to get overexcited and doing things you don't want to see them doing, you can guide them away with food, bring them over here, have your chewy over there while you're having your conversation with your family member that you've met in the park, legally, obviously, because I'm not suggesting that you have a great big party in the middle of the park just because they happen to have let us out. All right, but less is more with your tiny puppies. Happy, neutral, relaxed, not overexciting, because excitement does exactly the same thing as fear. The same chemistry is released, and it's a stress chemistry, it's stress hormones, and you don't learn very well when you're stressed. The other thing is, with your first walks, don't try and do too much training at all. Your puppy has already got so many things going on, they're not going to be able to learn very well or focus very well. It's more important that they learn that that environment is okay, and then they can give their attention back to you and learn in that environment afterwards. Okay, how does that feel? Let's have a look. Do you want to tell me what you think? Anybody already done first walks and agrees that they wish they'd gone a bit steadier or slower when they first did them? Rosie, definitely. Go on, talk to me about it. What was your first walks like?
We was just talking about it, actually. I can't remember his first walk properly, but we used to go literally around the block around our house, which is probably like a 5-minute walk if we were walking quick. But he just wanted to go everywhere, like all over the place. But I think if we just sort of went and sat in, like, say, a field somewhere, or I think that it would have worked out so much better if we just went and sat somewhere and let him sniff about. I think that would have been definitely a better plan. And if we were to get a puppy, that's what we'd do next time, because he just wants to run riot all the time.
Yeah. And it's hard because Dodo was very much that kind of puppy who would throw himself into new situations.
Yeah.
But then find that he was in a situation that he couldn't cope with, and he would be exposing himself to fear. So when I backed off a bit and I started just sitting with him and letting him watch and letting him look, that's when his calmness started to help him to learn and to train, you know. So there are some puppy videos and photos of Dodo when he first started. There's also some really good stuff online. So Kiko Pup, with her newest pup, has actually done a full set of, and I believe they're free. She might have made them to pay, but I believe they're free, where she's followed through on all the different stages that she's done with a pup, including first exposures to the new experiences in the world. Yeah,
we'll have to have a look. Also, I just thought I'd show you, we've just found 2 of his little teeth on the floor. I don't know if you can but he's really he's getting really agitated. He's really tired now, but just found 2 of his little teeth on the floor. Bless him.
You can have all sorts of weird things done with those now, you know. You can have them turned into jewelry and all sorts.
Yeah, keep his little teeth. They're the first 2 we've found, and quite a few's fallen out now.
Most of them they swallow and you never even get to see them. All right, anybody else? If you'd have had your chance, Naomi, would you have changed your first walk, do you think?
Well, it's hard to say. We didn't take him for a walk for quite a while because he wouldn't walk on a lead. He just freaked out. And then I think we only took him to the end of the street when he eventually decided he would walk on one. Well, yeah, I think maybe we could have taken things a little bit more gently to start off with. Or he seems to be fine now anyway, so ish.
Yeah.
If he's another
think-
dog, then he goes mental. But we're going to be working on that hopefully soon. But
I think the thing is that, especially if they've not had that real slow processing time, and I think this is one of the things we're going to see a lot of the lockdown puppies, when they hit adolescence, I'm expecting to be very, very busy, because pups that haven't had lots of good, safe exposures to new things while they're tiny, when they go through adolescence and their brain starts rewiring, they lose anything that they haven't, is either not caused a really nice experience in their brain, or they haven't had enough exposure to. And along with the heightened senses and heightened emotions, that lack of knowledge, that losing of that knowledge, it comes back to bite them, and it causes them to be really silly with their adolescence and more reactive with their adolescence.
I think that's it, obviously, because with him being a rescue, he's about 6 or 7 months old now. So until 5 weeks ago, he'd never had a walk. He'd never been in a home, and so it's all strange. And he's doing really well. But we are conscious that until 5 weeks ago, he hadn't.
Yeah.
So
and it's the same difference with Twiggy, because her start was so bad and so mottled, and you're always going to be playing catch up. You're always going to be running from behind with that kind of a dog. But the benefit is that you're ready for it, and you understand that it's not going to be an easy process.
Yeah, which is why hopefully with obviously some sessions that we've got with you over the coming weeks, that's going to help us a lot and help him more than anything. So because we've got friends and family with dogs, and we'd like him to feel more comfortable around other dogs, because for whatever reason he sees them as the enemy at the moment. And we'll get there. But no, we're really pleased with how he's doing, and I think he's becoming to accept us now. He now, over the last week or so, he actually runs to you at the front door, starts wagging his tail when you come in, and he wasn't doing that before. You had to go and find him, and his bum shakes so much it nearly knocks him over. So he is settling in now, and it's sweet. So but we know we're playing catch up, so it's worth it.
Yeah, and they are, the second-hand dogs and the rescue dogs, as much as pups are just cute, and I agree, they're a pain in the backside to live with, but they are so cute. But second-hand dogs, when you finally get their heart, when they finally decide that you're the one and that they're safe with you, I don't think there's anything like it. I think Tyke was second-hand, and yeah, he put me through the ringer, and it's his fault that now I'm doing what I do. Anyway, so better call it a night unless there's any other questions. You all fairly happy? Relatively happy. Do I get a thumbs up or a thumb sideways or Julie Brewy, you're a rubbish teacher and I really don't like you very much. Thank you very much, babe. See you later. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome.